In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold. The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Welcome to the Advertise. I'm John Towers. This, of course, is Wednesday Book Club. We're still working on Thus Spake Zarathustra by Nietzsche. I think we got 3 regular episodes left. It's been a struggle. So we're picking up at The Last Supper. For it was at this point that the soothsayer interrupted the welcome. He pushed forward like one who has no time to lose, and he seized Zarathustra's hands and shouted, "But Zarathustra, one thing is more necessary than another. Thus you say yourself. Well then, one thing is more necessary to me now than anything else. A word at the right time. Did you not invite me to supper? And here are many who have come a long way. Surely you would not feed us speeches alone. Also, all of you have thought far too much for my taste of freezing, drowning, suffocating, and other physical distress. But nobody has thought of my distress, namely, starving." Thus spoke the soothsayer, but when Zarathustra's animals heard these words, they ran away in fright, for they saw that whatever they had brought home during the day would not be enough to fill this one soothsayer. "Including dying of thirst," continued the soothsayer. "And although I hear water splashing nearby like speeches of wisdom, that is abundant and tireless, I want wine. Not everyone is born a water drinker like Zarathustra, nor is water fit for the weary and the wilted. We deserve wine that alone gives sudden convalescence to the immediate health." On this occasion, as the soothsayer asked for wine, it happened that the king at the left, the taciturn one, got a word in too. For once, for wine, he said, "We have taken care. I, together with my brother, the king at the right, we have wine enough, a whole ass load, as nothing is lacking but bread." "Bread," countered Zarathustra, and he laughed. "Bread is the one thing hermits do not have. But man does not live by bread alone, but also of the meat of good lambs, of which I have 2. These could be slaughtered quickly and prepared tastily with sage. I love it that way. Nor is there a lack of roots and fruit good enough even for gourmets and gourmands, nor of nuts and other riddles to be cracked. Thus we shall have a good meal in a short while, but whoever would join in the eating must also help in the preparation. Even the kings, for at Zarathustra's, even a king may be a cook." This suggestion appealed to the hearts of all. Only the voluntary beggar objected to meat and wine and spices. Now listen to this glutton, Zarathustra. He said, jokingly, is that why one goes into caves and high mountain ranges to prepare such meals? Now, indeed, I understand what he has taught us, praised to be a little poverty, and why he wants to abolish beggars. Be of good cheer, Zarathustra answered him, as I am. Stick to your custom, my excellent friend, and crush your grains and drink your water and praise your fare as long as it makes you gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I am a law only for my kind. I am no law for all, but whoever belongs with me must have strong bones and light feet and be eager for war and for festivals, not gloomy, nor a dreamer as ready for what is most difficult. As for his festival, healthy and wholesome, the best belongs to my kind and to me, and when one does not give it to us, he takes it. The best food, the purest sky, the strongest thoughts, the most beautiful women. Thus spoke Zarathustra. But the king at the right retorted, strange. Has one ever heard such clever things out of the mouth of a sage? And verily, he is the strangest sage, who is also clever and no ass. Thus spoke the king at the right, and he was amazed. But the ass commented on his speech with evil intent. Eeyaw! But this was the beginning of that long, drawn-out meal which the chronicles call the Last Supper. And in the course of it, nothing else was discussed but the higher man. All right, so here we're just going to take a stop here. So I wrote this thing. And it says, please draw your attention to the explicit content indicator that is found everywhere this podcast is available. This means that I use adult language. I do not speak in a humorless public radio hushed monotone. I am excited, enthusiastic about the information that I present and the topics I discuss, and my mind often races. I frequently talk very fast while thinking on the fly, or I will sometimes slow down for effect while reading, and I will occasionally go off of my notes on brief tangents. I drink while I record, and you will hear the ice rattle in my glass throughout this show. On the show, I joke about body functions, sex acts, sometimes heinous sex acts, sometimes very degenerated sex acts. I joke about religion and politics. The topics may seem random or scattered throughout the back catalog. However, a full list of show topics in chronological order is available on the featured topic link of Advertise.com. If any of these negative qualities might trigger you, this might not be the podcast for you, and I wish you good luck finding a show more to your liking. With that being said, if you give a poor rate and fucking review for any of these items, you are a jerk for wasting this 2 minutes of everybody else's time. All right, so the Last Supper, they're talking about the topic. They were like, okay, well, we'll have lamb and we'll have wine and you can crush up your nuts or whatever. And then they're like, well, let's talk about this overman. Let's talk about this higher man idea, shall we? The first time I came to men, I committed the folly of hermits, the great folly. I stood in the marketplace, and as I spoke to all, I spoke to none. But in the evening, tightrope walkers and corpses were my companions. I myself was almost a corpse, but when the new morning a new truth came to me, and I learned to say, of what concern to me are market and mob noise and long mob ears. You higher men, learn from me. In the marketplace, nobody believes in higher men. And if you want to speak there, very well, but the mob blinks. We are all equal. Jesus. I love it. I'm gonna annotate that. You higher men, thus blinks at the mob. There are no higher men. We are all equal. Man is man. Before God, we are all equals. Before God, but now this God has died. And before the mob, we do not want to be equal. You higher men, go away from this marketplace. So I comment constantly whenever I see this in this book. And at first I was like, see, Nietzsche predicted social justice warriors. He predicted liberation theology in a way. But I needed to get put in perspective that Nietzsche also actually, this was pre the Bolsheviks, right? This was pre capital C communism in Russia. So not only did he's predicting this man is all this men are equal stuff, but it's echoed through time and it's coming back around and it's applicable now to this day. I'm going to step off this soapbox here. Before God, but now this God has died. You higher men, this God was your greatest danger. It is only since he lies in his tomb that you have been resurrected. Only now great noon comes. Only now the higher man becomes Lord. You have to understand this word, oh my brothers. Have you are startled? Do your hearts become giddy? Does the abyss yawn before you? Does this hellhound howl at you? Well then, you higher men, only now is the mountain of man's future in labor. God died. And now we want the overman to live. So, during this project of reading this book, another thing that I have been understanding is that when people talk about the quote, Nietzsche's famous "God is dead" quote, I think they're taking it out of context, or they're misunderstanding it. It wasn't triumphant. Like Nietzsche, I don't think Nietzsche was. Now listen, I'm far from a Nietzschean scholar. I just read the work. That's all that I'm doing. But to me, this is also something that Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about. He's a Nietzschean scholar, I guess. He also says that it wasn't joy for Nietzsche to proclaim God was dead. I think Nietzsche was worried about the collapse of spirituality or religion, and Jordan Peterson says, like, well, Nietzsche was like, okay, great, let's knock these morals away and see what happens next. And obviously he thinks that certain men will become post-ethical or post-moral, and they will impose their own morality, or live by their own morality, I should say. I think that's exactly what this is talking about, right? The most concerned ask today, how is man to be preserved? But Zarathustra is the first and only one to ask, how is man to be overcome? I have the overman at heart. That is my first and only concern. And not man, not the neighbor, not the poorest, and not the ailing, not the best. Oh, my brothers, what I can love in man is that he is an overture and a going under. And in you too, there is much that lets me love and hope that you despise, you higher men, that lets me hope for the great despisers or the great revealers, that you have despaired and that there is much to revere. For you did not learn how to surrender. You did not learn petty prudences. For today, the little people lord it. And they preach surrender and resignation and prudence and industry and consideration and the long etc. of the small virtues. God damn it, that's good. I'm sorry. I'm kind of taking notes for another thing I got to do. What is womanish that derives from servile and especially the mob hodgepodge that would now become master of all human destiny? Oh, nausea, nausea, nausea. That ass and never grows weary. How is man to be preserved best, longest, most agreeably with that? There are the masters of today. Overcome these masters of today, oh my brothers, these small motherfucking people. They are the overman's greatest danger. This isn't the first time that this has made me think of Atlas Shrugged or The Fountainhead. You higher men overcome the small virtues, the small prudences, the grain of sand consideration, the ants riffraff, the wretched contentment, the happiness of the greatest number, and rather despair than surrender and verify. I, you, for not knowing how to live today, you higher men, for thus you live best. Do you have courage, oh my brother? Are you brave? Not courage before witnesses, but the courage of hermits and eagles, which is no longer watched by even a god. Cold souls, mules, the blind and the drunken. I do not call brave. Brave is he who knows fear, but conquers fear. Who sees the abyss, but with pride. Who sees the abyss with the eyes of an eagle, who grasps the abyss with the talons of the eagle. That man has courage. So this is a Dark Knight Rises. Or Dark Knight Returns, right? This is the last act of the graphic novel when Batman decides he's going to have to fight Superman, and he's fucking, they're fighting. I'm not talking about that goddamn movie. The goddamn movie. I'm talking about the actual Frank Miller graphic novel. And he's fighting Superman, and he's like, he basically calls him a punk. He's like, you're nothing special because you're not you're not human. You're indestructible. There is no consequences for your actions. There's no risk for you. Where I'm just a dude with a cool belt and a funny mask. You know what I mean? I'm the man who, this is kind of going to sound like a Thelema episode kind of thing, but he's like, I forged my skill in the fire of my will. You're a Superman at this point. to Bruce's point of view, Superman just got lucky he landed on a planet that had a yellow sun. That's what makes you special, motherfucker. And here I am busting your ass up. It's great. If you've never read the graphic novel, even if you don't like graphic novels or comic books, I suggest you check it out. And if you do like graphic novels or comic books, check out the Advertise.com and look at my comic books. And he kind of continues this sort of, man is evil, thus said all the wisest to comfort me. Alas, if only it were still true today, for evil is man's best strength. Man must overcome or become better and more evil. Thus I teach the greatest evil is necessary for the overman's best. It may be good for that the preacher of the little people that has suffered and tried to bear man's sin, but I rejoice over great sin as my greatest consolation. But this is not sad for long ears. Not every word belongs in every mouth in these delicate, distant matters. They should not be reached for by the sheep's hoofs. You higher men, do you suppose I have come to set right what you have set wrong? For that I have come to you that suffer to bed you more comfortably, or to you that are restless, have gone astray or climbed astray, to show your new and easier paths. No, no, 3 times no, evermore, ever better. Ones of your kind shall perish, for it shall be ever worse and harder for you. Thus alone, man grows to the height where lightning strikes and breaks him, lofty enough for lightning. My mind and my longing are directed towards the few, of the long, of the distant. What are your many small, short miseries to me? Do you not suffer enough to suit me? Have you suffer from yourselves? Have you not yet suffered from man? Who would lie if you claimed otherwise? You all do not suffer from what I have suffered. It is not enough for me that lightning no longer does any harm. I do not wish to conduct it anyways. It shall learn to work for me. My wisdom has long gathered like a cloud. It is becoming stiller and darker. Thus does every wisdom that is yet to give birth to lightning bolts. For these men of today, I do not wish to be light, or to be called light. These I wish to blind. Lightning of my wisdom, put out their eyes. Will nothing beyond your capacity. There is a wicked falseness among those who will beyond their capacity, especially if they will great things. For they arouse mistrust against the great things, these subtle counterfeiters and actors, until finally they are false before themselves, squinters, whited, worm-eaten decay, cloaked with strong words, with displaying virtues, with splendid false deeds. Take good care there, you higher men, for nothing today is more precious to me and rarer than honesty. Is this today not the mob's? But the mob does not know what is great, what is small, what is straight and honest. It is innocently crooked, and it always lies. Have a good mistrust today, you higher men, you south-hearted ones, you open-hearted ones. And keep your reasons secret, for this today is the mob's. What the mob once learned to believe without reasons, who could overthrow that with reason? And in the marketplace, one convinces with gestures, but reasons make the mob mistrustful. And if truth was victorious for once, then ask yourself with good mistrust, what strong error fought for it? Beware of the scholars, they hate you. For they are sterile. They have cold, dried up eyes. Before them every bird lies unplumbed. Unplumed. Such men boast that they do not lie, but the inability to lie is far from the love of truth. So beware. Freedom from fever is not yet knowledge by any means. I do not believe chilled spirits. Whoever is unable to lie does not know what the truth is. If you would go high, use your own legs and do not let yourself be carried up. Do not sit on the backs and the heads of others, but you mounted a horse and are now riding quickly up to your goal. All right, my friend, but your lame foot is sitting on the horse too. When you reach your goal, when you jump off your horse on your very height, you higher man, you will stumble. You creators, you higher men, one is pregnant only with one's own child. Do not let yourselves be gulled and beguiled. Who, after all, is your neighbor? Even if you act for the neighbor, you still do not create for him. Unlearn this, for you creators, your very virtues, wants that you do nothing for and in order and because. You shall plug up your ears against these false little words, for the neighbor is only the virtue for little people. There one says birds of a feather, and one hand washes the other. They have neither the right or the strength for your egoism. If in your egoism, you creators, is the caution in the providence of the pregnant, what no one has yet laid eyes on, the fruit that your whole love shelters and saves and nourishes, where your whole love is. With your whole child, there is also your whole virtue, your work, your will. That is your neighbor. You do not let yourselves be gulled with false values.
Learn more at abracast.com. Get bonus content and access to the private Abracast workgroup by signing up for the mailing list. Get all that plus many exclusive episodes by supporting the show at patreon.com or subscribestar.com.
So I'm pretty sure I was remiss at the beginning of the episode. I didn't let everyone know that now is the time to summon your vessel of the art and to mix your favorite weapon of mass distraction in there. And I didn't remind you or ask you to raise that glass to the lightning-filled sky where eagles and snakes fly. And ask everyone to help me thank my Patreon and Subscribe Star supporters. Without you guys, none of this would be possible or less possible. So here's to you guys. Thank you for my supporters. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the listeners as well. And here's to you down the hatch. May you have earned your black eye. You creators, you higher men, whoever has to give birth is sick, but whoever has given birth is unclean. Ask women. One does not give birth because it is fun. Pain makes hens and poets cackle. You creators, there is much that is unclean in you. That is because you've had to be mothers. I'm going to actually drink to that. I'm actually going to take a note to it. Sorry, I had this habit of taking notes while I'm recording, but I don't read this stuff in advance a lot. So, a new child. Oh, how much new filth has also come into the world. Go aside, and whoever has given birth should wash his soul clean. And do not be virtuous beyond your strength, and do not desire anything of yourselves against probability. Walk in the footsteps where your father's virtue walked before you. How would you climb high if your father's will does not climb with you? But whoever shall be a firstling should beware lest he also become a lastling. And wherever the vices of your father are, there you should not want to represent saints. If your fathers consorted with women, strong wines, and wild boars, what would it be to you if you wanted chastity of yourself? It would be folly. Here, I'm going to raise a toast to my old man. It would be folly. Verily it seems much to me that such a man is the husband of one or two or three women. And if he found, my dad's been married 3 times. And if he found monasteries and wrote over the door, quote, the way to sainthood, unquote, I should yet say, what for? It is another folly he founded a reformatory and a refuge for himself. May it do him good. But I do not believe in it. In solitude, whatever one has brought into it grows. Also the inner beast. Therefore, solitude is inadvisable for many. Has there been anything filthier on earth so far than desert saints? Wow. Around them not only was the devil loose, but also the swine of Gadara. Shy, ashamed, awkward, like a tiger whose leap has failed. Thus, I have often seen you slink aside, you higher men. A throw had failed you, but you dice throwers, what does it matter? You've not learned to gamble and jest as one must gamble and jest. Do we not always sit at a big jesting and gaming table? And if something great has failed you, does it follow that you yourself are failures? If you yourselves are failures, does it follow you that man is a failure? But if man is a failure, well then, The higher its type, the more rarely a thing succeeds. You higher men, you have not all failed. Be of good cheer. When does it matter? How much is still possible? Learn to laugh at yourselves as one must laugh. Is it to any wonder that you failed and only half succeeded, being half broken? Is it not something thronging and pushing you, man's future, man's great distance and depth? And what in him is lofty to the stars, his tremendous strength, not all these frothing against each other in your pot. Is it any wonder that many a pot breaks? Learn to laugh at yourselves as one must laugh, you higher men. How much is still possible? And verily, how much has already succeeded? How rich is the earth in little good perfect things, and what has turned out well? Place little good perfect things around you, O higher men. The golden ripeness heals the heart. What is perfect teaches hope. What has so far the greatest sin here on earth? Was it not the word of him who said, "Woe unto those who laugh here"? Did he himself find no reason on earth for laughing? Then he searched very badly. Even a child could find reasons here. He did not love enough, else he would have also have loved us who laugh. But he hated and mocked us, and howling and gnashing of teeth he promised us. Does one have to curse right away? One does not love. It seems bad taste to me, but thus he acted, being unconditional. He came down from the mob, and he himself simply did not love enough, else he would not have been so wroth with that one that did not love him. All great love does not want love. It wants more. Avoid all such unconditional people. There are a poor, sick sort, a sort of mob. They look sourly at this life. They have the evil eye for this earth. Avoid all such unconditional people. They have heavy feet and sultry hearts. They do not know how to dance. They should not. How should the earth be light for them? All good things approach their goal crookedly. Like cats, they arch their back and they purr inwardly over their approaching happiness, and all good things laugh. A man's stride betrays whether he has found his own way. Behold me walking, but before approaches his goal dances, and verily, I have not become a statue. I do not yet stand there stiff, stupid, stony, a column. I love to run swiftly, and although there are swamps and thick melancholy on earth, whoever has light feet runs even over mud and dances as on swept ice. Lift up your hearts, my brothers, higher and higher. Higher and higher. And do not forget your legs either. Lift up your legs too, you good dancers, and better yet, stand on your heads. This crown of him who laughs, this rose-wreathed crown, I myself have put on this crown. I myself has pronounced my laughter holy. Nobody else have I found strong enough for this today. Zarathustra, the dancer, Zarathustra, the light, waves with his wings, ready for flight, waving at all birds, ready and heady, happily, light-hearted, Zarathustra, the soothsayer. Zarathustra, the soothsayer. Not impatient, not unconditional, one who loves, leaps, and side leaps. I myself has put on this crown. Lift up your hearts, my brothers, higher and higher. And do not forget your legs either, and lift up your legs too, you good dancers. And better yet, stand on your heads. In happiness too, there are heavy animals. They are, oh boy, ponderous heads through and through. Curiously, they labor like an elephant laboring to stand on its head. But it is still better to be foolish from happiness than foolish from unhappiness. Better to dance ponderously than to walk lamely. That you would learn my wisdom from me. Even the worst thing has two good reverse sides. Even the worst thing has a good dancing legs. And you would learn, you higher men, to put yourselves on your right legs. And you would unlearn nursing and melancholy and mob sadness. Oh, how sad even the mob's clowns seem to me today. But this today is the mob's. Be like the wind rushing out of his mountain caves. He wishes to dance. To his own pipe, the sea trembles and leaps under his feet. But what gives asses wings? What milks lionesses? Praised be the good, interactable spirit that comes like a cyclone in all today, and all to the mob. What is a verse to the thistle-headed and Casuits heads? And to all wilted leaves and weeds, praised be to this wild, good, free storm spirit that dances on swamps and on melancholy as on meadows. What hates the mob's blethercocks? And all the bungled gloomy brood, praised be this spirit of all free spirits, and the laughing gale that blows dust into the eyes of all the black-sighted, sore-blighted. You higher men, the worst about you is that all you have not learned to dance, as one must dance, dancing away over yourselves. What does it matter that you are failures, motherfuckers? How much is still possible? So learn to laugh away over yourself and lift up your hearts, you good dancers, higher and higher. And do not forget good laughter, this crown of him who laughs, this rose-wreathed crown. To you, my brothers, I throw this crown. Laughter I have pronounced holy. You higher men, learn to laugh. So, the next speech we're talking about is the Song of Melancholy. And it has like 2 parts that are kind of just like all the other speeches that we've read. And then it goes into song. So, for those of you guys who've listened to the show for a long time, I don't know, even for like a week or 2, you might know that my musical ability is lacking. So I'm going to try to get through this as best as I can. So again, if this is something that might trigger you into writing a bad review, I'm warning you ahead of time. I'm not a musical person, but I'm going to try to read this song, okay? I would also just like to say that I agree with Zarathustra. He doesn't say that you have to be a good dancer. See, I've never been a good dancer. Like, I don't go out there and, like, woo the ladies with my fucking dance moves, or never have I. But I've rarely been afraid to dance. So, side story. I gave you the disclaimer about tangents. So, side story, when my wife and I were planning our wedding, I let her do a bunch of stuff and I didn't check in with her. And then I did a bunch of stuff and she didn't really check in with me. So when it came to the wedding dance, we were there surrounded by our friends and our family, and this music starts and I grab her and start to slow dance, and she looks at me and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I thought we were we're fucking dancing is what we're doing. And she's like, "This isn't a slow dance." And it was, what the name is the fucking song? It was, Radiohead, Jigsaw falling into play. I don't know what the name of the song is, but that was the song that she had picked. And it starts out slow. So I was like, oh great, slow song. But then when she was like, "This is not a slow song," she like pushed me away and she fucking started like literally dancing. My wife is a burlesque dancer. Like, she knows, she's got a ballet background. Like, she fucking knows what she's doing. And I'm just like, oh, I know a couple Michael Jackson moves. But, so I just started dancing. And, afterwards, my cousin, who was not married to his wife at the time, but he was like, "Hey man, no one's ever going to accuse you of being a dancer." And I was like, "Hey brother, let me tell you," I was real close to my cousin growing up. And I was like, "Hey Billy, let me tell you something, man. If you give a fuck what people think about you, if you sacrifice having fun for what fucking people think about you, you're missing the point." So a few years later, Billy got married, and they did not have a DJ. They did not dance at all. So there's my thought about dancing. Actually, if you go to the YouTube channel, or I don't know if it's on my YouTube channel. Anyhow, you can find it. It's out there. Like my wedding dance. The DJ is like, like when it's over, he goes, "Well, you could tell that was choreographed." And I'm like, I'm about to overpay this old motherfucking DJ for fucking up my whole wedding. He did a bunch of shitty stuff. Anyhow, but the point is, like, was he giving me shit or was he giving me credit because my dance moves were so good? I don't know. It's a fucking mystery. And looking back on it, I didn't even use any of my Michael Jackson dance moves. Huh. Psh. The Song of Melancholy. Oh, great. So it's a sad song on top of everything else. While Zarathustra delivered these discourses, he stood near the entrance of his cave. But with the last words, he slipped away from his guests and he fled into an open for a short while. "Oh, pure smells about me," he cried out. "Oh, happy silence about me. But where are my animals? Come here, my eagle and my serpent, and tell me, my animals, these higher men, all of them, do they perhaps smell bad? Oh, pure smells about me. Not only I know and I feel how much I love you, my animals." And Zarathustra spoke once more. "I love you, my animals." But the eagle and the serpent pressed close to him, and they spoke these words and looked up to him in this way. And three of them, they were together silently, and they sniffed and sipped the good air together. For the air out here was better than among the higher men. But Zarathustra had secretly left his cave when the old magician got up, looked around cunningly, and said, "He has gone out." And immediately, your higher men, if I may tickle you with this laudatory, flattering name, as he did, immediately my wicked spirit of deception and magic seizes me. my melancholy devil, who is through and through an adversary of this Zarathustra. Forgive him. Now he wants to show you his magic. He and his hour right now. In vain do I wrestle with this evil spirit. Of all of you, whatever honors you may confer upon yourselves with words, whether you call yourselves free spirits or truthful or aesthetics of the spirit or the unbound, the great longers of all you who, like me, are suffering of the great nausea, from whom the old God has died, and for whom the new God lies as yet in cradles and swaddling clothings. Of all you, my evil spirits and magic devil is fond. I know you, you higher men, and I know him. I also know this monster whom I love against my will, this Zarathustra. He himself sometimes seemed to me like a beautiful mask of a saint, like a new strange masquerade in which my evil spirit, the melancholy devil, enjoys himself. And I love Zarathustra, it often seems to me, for the sake of my own evil spirit. But even now he attacks me, and he forces me, this spirit of melancholy, this devil of the dusk. And verily, you higher men, he has the desire. You may well open your eyes wide. He has the desire to come naked, whether male or female, I do not know yet, but he is coming. He is forcing me. Alas, open your senses. The day is fading away. Evening is now coming to all things, even to the best things. Hear then and see, you higher men, what kind of devil, whether man or woman, this spirit of evening melancholy is. Thus spoke the old magician, looked around cunningly, and then reached for his harp. Chicken in the bread pack picking out dough. In dim delight air, when he drew comfort in his beginning. So you have to understand this was written in fucking like German. So whenever you translate songs, they don't rhyme or anything. So this is going to be a nightmare. I'm glad I'm finishing on this note. I think I planned it that way. When the dude's comfort is beginning to well down to the earth, unseen, unheard, for tender is the footwear of the comforter do, and as well as that gently comfort, do you remember then, remember, hot heart, thou, how you thirsted once, you heavenly tears and dripping dew, thirsting, scorched and weary, while on the yellow paths in the grass, the glances of the evening sun were running maliciously around you through black trees, blinding, growing glances of the sun mocking your pain. Okay, this is like a Doors song. Suitor of truth, they mocked me. You know, only poet, an animal cunning, praying and prowling, that must lie, that must knowingly, willingly lie, lusting for prey, colorfully masked, amassed for itself, prey for itself. This, the suitor of truth. No, only fool, only poet, only speaking colorfully, only screaming colorfully out of fools' masts, climbing around on mendacious word bridges, on colorful rainbows between false heavens and false earths, roaming, hovering, only fool, only poet, this the suitor of truth. Not stiff, smooth, cold. Become a statue, a pillar of God, not placed before temples. A God's gate guard. No, an enemy of such truth statues. More at home in any desert than before temples. Full of cats' prankishness, leaping through every window, swish into every chance, sniffing for every jungle, eagerly longing, sniffing. That in jungles among colorful speckled beasts of prey, you might roam sinfully around, sound and colorful, beautiful with lusting lips. I will drink the lusting lips every time. Blissfully mocking, blissfully hellish, blissfully bloodthirsty, praying, prowling, peering. Or like the eagle that gazes long with the fixed eyes into the abysses, his own abysses. Oh, how the wind downward, lower and lower, and into the ever deeper depths. Then suddenly straight as sight, in brandished flight. Ha, we got a rhyme. Pounce on lambs. Abruptly down, hot, hungry, lusting for lambs, hating all lamb souls, grimly hating whatever looks sheepish, lamb-eyed, curly-wooled, gray, and lambs with sheep's good will. Thus, eagle-like, panther-like, are the poet's longings. Your longings under 1,000 masks, you fool, you poet. You that have seen man as God and sheep tearing to pieces the God in man and laughing while tearing. This is your bliss, a panther in an eagle's bliss, a poet in a fool's bliss. In the dim delight air, in dim delighted air, when the moon's sickle is beginning to creep green between crimson reds, enviously hating the day, secretly step for step, scything at slopping rose meads till they sink in ashen, drowned in night. Thus I myself once sank out of my truth madness, out of my day longings, weary of day, sick from the light, sank downwards, evening word, shadow word, burned by one truth and thirsty. Do you remember still, hot heart, how you thirsted that I be banished from all truth, only fool, only poet. All right. I'm John. This has been the Ambercast. Thank you guys for hanging in. And, yep.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.